The date was May 19th, 1856, in the United States Senate. The chamber was packed beyond capacity on the hot day, with temperatures in the room reaching over 90 degrees. As the clock struck 1, Charles Sumner rose. Using floor time that took him over 2 months to schedule, it was here he delivered a speech that would go down in history and result in his own near death experience.
But before entering upon the argument, I must say something of a general character, particularly in response to what has fallen from senators who have raised themselves to eminence on this floor in championship of human wrongs. I mean the senator from South Carolina and the senator from Illinois, who, though unlike as Don Quixote and Sancho Panza, yet this couple sally forth together in the same adventure. I regret much to miss the elder senator from his seat, but the cause against which he has run a till with such activity of animosity demands that the opportunity of exposing him should not be lost. And it is for the cause that I speak. The senator from South Carolina has read many books of chivalry and believes himself a chivalrous knight with sentiments of honor and courage. Of course, he has chosen a mistress to whom he has made his vows, and who, though ugly to others, is always lovely to him. Though polluted in the sight of the world, is chaste in his sight. I mean the harlot, slavery.
Andrew Butler, without explicitly mentioning his name, despite the fact that the man had not been present in the chamber at the time of the crime against Kansas speech. While the South Carolina native may have believed he possessed the qualities of a chivalrous knight, Sumner made it apparent that Butler held no such righteousness. In drawing a parallel between the senator's liking to the institution of slavery and forming vows to an unattractive mistress, Sumner effectively degraded the moral character of Butler. It is no wonder that an individual, whether Andrew Butler himself or a close relative, would take great offense to the insults presented by Charles Sumner. The senator's fate was sealed, and it was only a matter of time before someone would act, most likely maliciously, to avenge the honor of their beloved Senator Andrew Butler. The inspiration for an eventual clash was set in stone, as Sumner exploded on the issue of whether Kansas should be admitted to the Union as a slave state or a free state, and in turn greatly insulted the morals of fellow Senator Andrew Butler. South Carolina Representative Preston Brooks was Butler's kinsman, specifically his second cousin. As Sumner had ridiculed Butler's character and domain, Brooks felt deeply insulted as well. In defending the honor of both his state and family name, Brooks believed justice had to be served. In a normal scenario, Brooks would have challenged Sumner to a duel. However, Brooks believed that Sumner was not enough of a gentleman to partake in a duel. As a result, Brooks began thinking of alternatives for his punishment. Preston Brooks ultimately chose a light cane, of the type that had been often used to discipline disobedient animals, to commit the attack upon Sumner.
Brooks planned out his attack carefully, and 3 days later decided it would be the perfect day to initiate his attack on Sumner. The cane that he used was a light cane, with a heavy bronze cap at the top that he walked with due to an injury he sustained in a duel years prior. On the day of the attack, Brooks walked into the courtroom and saw that there was a woman, which made him have regrets, and he nearly did not go through with the attack in order to make himself appear as more of a gentleman. However, he decided to do it. Sumner was vigorously signing copies of his crime against Kansas speech that he had given a few days earlier, which caused him to be completely oblivious to Brooks approaching him from behind. Brooks flatly stated, "You've libeled my state and slandered my white-haired old relative, Senator Butler, and I've come to punish you for it," before aggressively hitting Sumner in the top of the head with his cane.
The bronze-topped cane smashed upon the unsuspecting head of Sumner. As Brooks repeatedly struck, Sumner rose from his seat and lurched about the chamber in an effort to protect himself, before collapsing to the floor, where Brooks continued to strike in front of helpless onlookers. While the cane shattered, Brooks could not be stopped. The caning of Charles Sumner lasted over a minute, and not until being restrained by others within the chamber did Brooks end the beating. Immediately after, the fallen senator was dragged out of the chamber to seek medical attention. as a stunned audience watched the aggressor Brooks walk calmly out of the room.
Following the caning, Brooks immediately resigned from his seat in the House of Representatives. He was required to pay a $300 fine for his devious actions and was forced to resign. Yet in South Carolina, his actions were approved, and many events were held in his honor. He was eventually re-elected in the southern state despite the northern objection. This approval in the South made the Northerners even more angry than the caning itself did. As with Sumner, he took many years to recover from the severe injuries that he sustained in the fight. However, he was eventually re-elected into his seat, even though he was not physically ready to come back. As a result, his seat remained vacant in his absence as a reminder of the brutality of the South. Preston Brooks died shortly after his re-election at the age of 37. However, Sumner was able to serve for 18 more years in the Senate following the caning.
The malicious caning of Senator Charles Sumner was undoubtedly a precursor to the eventual Civil War to be fought within the United States of America. Being one of the single most violent events to ever occur within the United States Congress, the caning of Senator Charles Sumner evidently embodied the culture of a cutthroat and brutal period of American history, a time in which it was not completely surprising for even the most highly respected of government individuals to resort to cowardly means of settling disputes. The caning further exposed an already apparent socio-political divide between the nation's counterparts. Such a brutal act demonstrated just how far the northern and southern sections had drifted apart amidst a time where the threat of war appeared both an imminent and inevitable force that was soon to wreak havoc on the nation.
5 years after the caning occurred, the Civil War broke out at Fort Sumter. This war exhibited the many years of ideological diversity in America and lasted for over 4 years. The war dragged on and proved to be the bloodiest, deadliest war for America at the time. Although the caning was just a small, short-term event in the war, it proved how thin the ice was holding back the war between the North and South. We would like to take the time to thank everyone watching for dedicating the time to support this series and help us to continue covering history through these documentaries. Please support us on Patreon. The link is in the description. We would also like to thank our sponsor, Keurig. Whether it's coffee, tea, hot chocolate, or any other hot drink, Keurig allows you to brew it with the tap of a button. Simply brew and enjoy. Now to credits.